Hey team, let's make cream salmon. Salmon is so expensive that it makes way more sense to get this big can and then you just portion it out. It's so much more economical. And then I can't have dairy these days, so I use coconut cream, which is a great way to add calories to your diet if you need to bulk up your meals at all. Just replace most of your dairy with coconut cream because that one can is like 700 calories. So it's a great way to bulk up your diet if you struggle with hitting proper calories. So I'm going to shred up all this canned salmon and then take out the little bone pieces that I'm sure you can eat them. They just make the meal like not as nice. So we're looking for these little crunchy bits that you can feel very easily, even with the fork. Last time I did this with just the fork and not my fingers, and there was lots left in my meal, and I just didn't like it that much. So I'm going to shred and go through all the salmon and pick out all the bones, and then I'm going to portion it so that this one can of salmon, which is like $7 or $8, ends up making 5 different entire like pots of meals, which each pot of meal will make me somewhere between 3 to 5 servings of dinner. So I'm going to get, 25, around 25 meals out of this one can of salmon. So it turns out to be very economical if you do not eat very much at a time. Now that all the little bones are out, I'm just going to even out the meat so that I can more equally portion it. And there's quite a bit here, so I'm going to portion it into 5 different portions so I can make this meal 5 times. Here I'm trying to save on plastic bags by putting 2 portions into each of the corners of the little bag, so 2 portions per bag, but they won't be frozen together. And then this 5th portion will be tonight's dinner. So these portion bags will go in a freezer bag, and that'll go right in the freezer for, I'll probably make this meal every month or two, so I'm good for the next like 6 months basically. And then I'm going to shake up my coconut cream and get it ready because once the roux starts going, I want to move a little bit fast. You're going to heat up your pot, add in a fair amount of butter, get it bubbling, and add some flour. How much flour and how much liquid you add will change how thick this dish is. If I added more flour, I would probably add some water into this as well, but just a little bit of butter, a little bit of flour, the 1 can of coconut cream, and this was a very yummy meal. Here I've added water to the empty can of coconut milk, just to see if I want to thicken this up more, and I end up not using it. I think that this is a fine consistency with just the milk, butter, and flour. Here I'm seasoning with salt, ground pepper, freshly cracked black pepper, and some white pepper. So it ends up being a little bit, I preferred a little bit, I guess, bland with some warmth to it as like a really simple comfort food. I grew up having this cream salmon, which is just salmon stewed in milk. I believe the way my dad used to make this was by putting it all together in the pot and making like a slurry with flour and water in a shaker jar and then pouring it in to thicken. But I like the process of making a roux and thickening the flour and the butter with liquid instead. So I'm going to toast my toast. And then I used to save on a cutting board and a knife or just a fork and knife cutting this toast in the plate. I used to just rip the bread, but it like mushes it down and it makes it not as nice to eat. So I've been slicing it and that's nice. And then I have a big brain moment here where I'm going to use those breadcrumbs as like au gratin, like the crunchy bits on top of your fancy meal. So big brain moment here as I add my breadcrumbs and make it fancy. And that's cream salmon.